What's going on, everyone? Chris here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal, and today I want to do a video regarding how to remove a refrigerator by yourself. If you are new to my channel, I am a solo owner-operator of a junk removal business about 95% of the time. Now, quick disclaimer, I am a former professional mover, so I was able to carry a lot of my skill set over to junk removal, which I believe helps enable me to do a lot of these jobs by myself that most people would probably go get a second person for. So every now and then I like to trickle in these how to remove videos, not only just to get the job done, but to do it safely as well, because one of the biggest things about being a professional company is that you're not gonna bang up the house on your way out or in if you're a moving company. So that is one of the things that can help set you apart versus that guy who can come by in his beat up pickup truck and pick up a couch for 30 bucks. But is he gonna be able to get out of your house without smashing your door frame in? So hopefully these tips help you guys out. I'm going to kind of run over the basics of just a few things to kind of try to do. I'm going to show you how to get it out on a hand truck and how to get it out on a four-wheeler dolly in the event you have a tight hallway or just a small tight setup in general. Keeping a piece vertical and being able to just shift it around is going to give you the most maneuverability versus a hand truck where once you lean it back, now you have a right triangle, and the C side of a right triangle is always the longest. So once it's on that hand truck, you just immediately became 3 to 4 times the length of whatever it is that you're carrying. So we'll go ahead and talk about that as well. And then I'll just kind of throw in some tips and tricks that I've kind of like to do here and there when I run into certain situations. So I hope this video helps you guys out. All right, so this is going to be our refrigerator that we are going to be working with today. I just got this on a junk job a couple of days ago. So this is the pretty standard refrigerator nowadays. Can we all agree on that? You got your refrigerator on one side, you got your freezer on the other side. It's got a little weight to it, but it's not crazy. Right, overall, I'm 6 foot, so it's basically a 5'10" fridge, 6 feet. Width-wise, I think it's 34 inches with the doors and the handles. And then the width of the actual door itself, I believe, is 36 or so. So typically, your sides are going to be your more narrow point, with the exception of the handles. So when you're going through a doorway, if the fridge doesn't fit, you either have to pop the door off or you have to pop these doors off. Now the good thing is this is junk removal, so even if you screw it up in the process taking it off the actual hinges of the refrigerator, it's not the biggest of deals because it's already junk. So that's a good thing for us. But typically all fridges are about the same except for those real old school ones. They have a little cap up here, you pop this off, there's a little bolt user ratchet to take it off. I actually did one in a video when I did the clean out for the realtor like a month ago, and I'll go ahead and link that video on the screen somewhere so you can go check that out. I actually show popping the doors off and how easy it is. So getting into moving it, we have our hand truck, we have our ratchet strap down here, and we have our four-wheeler. So I want to go ahead and show you how you can use both pieces of equipment and the benefits of using each one depending on your situation. Now, another perk of using the side of the refrigerator for using the hand truck is it's also going to be your most stable for the bottom of the hand truck. You put it on the front, you got those handles in the way. So right off the back, your hand truck isn't going to be sitting in the middle, or if it is, it's not going to be balanced. You put it on the back side, you have the motor framing and encapsulament there. So sometimes that's not the most secure thing. Sometimes it's a little flexible or it's real thin aluminum and it can kind of bend with your hand truck. And just like that, it's not the most secure item anymore. You use the front, let's say you don't have handles, it's just flat, maybe it's an engraving for the handle. That's great, but that front lip is usually a plastic piece of bar around a thin metal strip, which once again can kind of mess with your hand truck. So I think at the end of the day, the side is the best option. Now, the reason we have a ratchet strap is we're going to run it around the refrigerator and attach it to the hand truck as if it was a appliance dolly. And if you've never used an appliance dolly, they look like the hand truck right here, but they're a little bit more rectangular and squared off. They usually have a smaller lip at the bottom, but it's longer and wider, and they have a ratchet strap that's connected to it. You run it around, you crank it tight, and it basically seals the item to the hand truck. So when you go to pull back on it, it just makes it a little bit easier with the leverage. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now the good thing about these handles actually is, since I'm here by myself, I can just go ahead and rest the hook in here, so I don't have to worry about it falling off on me halfway through. So, my truck's gonna go on the side. We're gonna take our ratchet strap, we're gonna run it around the fridge. So this is what the ratchet strap looks like once it is tied off. It runs around the entire fridge. It is securing it right now to your main point of entry, which is right here. Now, the good thing about using your ratchet strap as well is if you're going downstairs, you have to imagine each time you go down a step, everything is bouncing around. You are going down, which means that in gravity terms, if you were to stand that fridge up and tilt it just a little bit this way, there's nothing keeping it from just falling down the stairs and causing a big incident. So attaching it to your hand truck can be very beneficial for that as well. It helps kind of keep it secure to you. And all you have to do is control this. Now you guys have seen me do this a lot of times on the YouTubes. Every time I have a big piece, when you go to pull a piece back, just like anything else, put your foot down as a stopper, grab the hand truck, grab the piece if you can, and then pull and lean back with it. Try not to break tension. Don't just yank it and expect it to come with you if it's a heavier object. So when you do that, hold on to it for a couple of seconds. Keep that constant tension until you break the momentum. Think about it like weightlifting. I don't know how many of you guys do like squat, bench, deadlift. I used to do weightlifting before moving. In an example of a deadlift, let's say when you start getting into heavier weights, I don't know what's heavy for you guys, but my max was like 505. When I start getting to like the high fours, when you go to pull the bar off the ground, if you just yank it and it doesn't budge, you put it back down, it's never gonna go up. But if you go to pull on it and you keep that constant tension, eventually you're gonna build enough inertia to pull the bar up. Sometimes all it takes is a few split seconds just to kind of keep it going. So it's the same thing with this. I can get a really big piece and go to pull on it, and if it's like, oh, that's not going anywhere, and let it back down, one, it's going to crash on the floor, but two, I got to restart now. Whereas if I lean back with it and just keep my weight with it just for a second or two, typically the piece is going to come with you. So this fridge isn't like super heavy, but it's got some weight to it, and I'll show you a demonstration of it. So if I were just to pull back on the fridge like this, right, I can rock it, okay, but it didn't go anywhere, and I just pulled pretty hard, enough that the hand truck came probably 3 inches off the fridge. Now I'm gonna grab the hand truck with one hand, I'm gonna grab the fridge with the other. I'm just grabbing the little top plastic piece. You can grab wherever you want, doesn't matter. I'm gonna grab the top part, I'm gonna grab the hand truck. I got my foot down here, I'm gonna lean back and pull the whole thing with me. So 1, 2, 3, and then you just lean back with it. And now you have a fridge. Now, when you're going down the stairs, like I mentioned, you would literally be in this exact same position. The good thing about this is typically the bigger pieces, you kind of need to use one hand on the dolly and one hand on the piece to keep it from tipping side to side. But that's the good thing about the ratchet strap, that takes care of that problem for you. So if this was a heavy enough fridge, you could cup with 2 hands and walk down the stairs with it if you needed to. So now we're gonna go back down with this. I'm gonna plant my foot down, lean into it. Now the hand truck, pretty straightforward. I think most people will probably use that route. But let's say this refrigerator was in a utility room, laundry room, right? Away from everything else. Now you have a tight little hallway, tight little turns. Using a hand truck is a little bit more difficult because you are taking a vertical object and you're turning it into a right triangle. Think back to your high school days, geometry, algebra, I don't know, I failed both. But think about a right triangle. You have three sides. You have your A, your B, your bottom, and your C. Your C is your longest side. You are A, the floor is B, the refrigerator is going to be C in this case. Your C side is your longest side, always. So you take a fridge that's 3 feet wide, you tilt it back on an angle, you just double, tripled the overall length that fridge is now. So if I had to go make a turn with the hand truck, unless I'm able to stand up the piece enough and kind of like skateboard it in, which I've talked about in the past, it's a little harder with a heavy fridge though, but if you were able to do that, you could probably get it up to like here, but it's never going to be like that, and that's always going to be your smallest point. So something like a four-wheeler comes in handy in that situation. I use this for dressers all the time in tight hallways. And clients are always like, oh, how are you going to get the dresser out by yourself? It's such a tiny little hallway. As long as a dresser isn't any more than 6 feet tall, because usually doors are probably 6'5"-ish, I can put this on that and just weave it right through, and it makes things so much easier. So I'm going to do the same concept with the refrigerator. Now, this is harder to do by yourself. If you are in a place where it has tile or really sensitive laminate flooring or wood floors and you are nervous about it damaging the floors, don't do it. Or if you're going to do it because this is junk removal, if you have a clear point of entry to go out and you don't want to use a hand truck, tip the damn fridge on the side and put it on the dolly. It's junk removal. It doesn't matter if it lays down anymore. You're not worried about the motor or the Freon or anything of that. So that is always an option. But I'm going to show you a trick to get it up on this standing up so you can get through those tight spaces if you need to. Run the ratchet strap around the fridge just like we did with the hand truck, but don't attach it to anything. Just leave it there as a handle, and I'll show you why. The reason the ratchet strap is on there is to create a handle for yourself. So as you're tilting this back, you can always keep one hand in control. So that way, if it were to go to tip all the way, you at least have a way to grab it and pull it back towards you so it doesn't, let's say, crash into the wall or just smack the floor and damage everything in its way. So that's also an alternative. I've had to use it a couple of times here and there. I don't normally do it though, but if you're in that situation, it could be a great help. So right now I'm going to lean back on the fridge. I'm going to get my dolly and stick it underneath. So right now it's pretty far up. I have complete control of it right now. It's not going to tip all the way down unless I push it another probably 6 or 8 inches. If I needed to though, I would push it but keep my hand on the ratchet strap like this. I can still push the fridge, but if it were to tip too far, I can always yank back on it and pull that strap with me. So on the bottom of a fridge, it's not always perfectly flat, but I'm going to wedge this underneath as far as I can. Now, a little bit of a tricky part because this is going to want to pop back out. Now you have to pull the fridge back towards you, apply pressure to the bottom, pull on your handle, and there you go. Now you're on a four-wheeler. Now I can move this through a hallway if I need to. And just like that, you got a large size refrigerator on a dolly. But this is good to go, ready to get moved. Now I will say, that's a safety precaution. When you saw me lift back on that, if you have a blanket or a door stopper or something to use to your advantage, stick it on the side that's being pushed back, just so it doesn't dig into any surface area, because now you're putting a lot of weight on a very thin strip of structure, and that can dig into the floor. So just make sure you're always kind of thinking ahead about those kind of situations. Now, obviously you probably wouldn't want to keep this on the four-wheeler going out to your truck or your trailer. It's going to be very unsteady. I would use this just to get it out to the driveway or out the front door, or just through the hallway that's tight, and then switch over to the hand truck. If you have somebody with you, then sure, roll it out to your truck. But it is always a little bit less stable when you have a piece that's kind of meh and you're putting it on a four-wheeler like that. So you can either take it off entirely, or you can do this. And by doing that, now you don't have to worry about taking it back off and doing that lean all over again. Yes, it's controlled with that ratchet strap, but it's always a risk. It's always a factor that something could go wrong. You always want to limit your risks as much as possible, especially as a small business. So that is that's one way to get the fridge off the dolly again and back onto the hand truck, and that's a quick transfer. As you saw, I hesitated a little bit because I pushed my foot back, but that took me 10 seconds to switch it back onto the dolly. Not a big deal. That's a real quick transition. So at the end of the day, the ratchet strap can come in handy with these staircases, keeping it controlled to you. It can come in handy with the hand truck, to keeping the piece to you, so as you pull back, you don't have to worry about it wanting to lean forward and fighting against you. And you can use it as a handle for when you're having to put it on a four-wheeler dolly. You can use the hand truck to take it off the four-wheeler dolly so you don't have to do work twice. And that's that. So hopefully this helps. Again, I will link the video to where I popped off the doors on the fridge at that other job. I kind of had to do that, and it was because it was a hurricane impact door. I don't take those off because they're very heavy, and typically they're held in by impact. They're used with the impact drill to get it in because it's solid steel and it's very heavy duty. And I don't like using impact on door hinges because they strip pretty easily. So I just try not to do that. That's just me though. But hopefully that helped. If you guys have anything that you struggle with on a day-to-day basis, if it is something that is common for me, I will try to record it. But comment it down below and let me know if this video helped you guys out. Until next time, bye. So before we end the video, I just want to throw out a couple of more voiced tips that I've kind of found to be helpful in case you guys run into any of the same situations. So when it comes to taking a door frame off, I've always thought it to be a pretty simple process, but I've had a few people comment asking how did I get the door on and off by myself. Let me put a quick disclaimer out there. I'm not a contractor. If I have been doing this wrong this whole time, then I'm sorry to all of my clients, but I've never had any complaints about it. First off, I don't take off steel doors unless I have to, or impact doors. Depending on your state, maybe impact doors isn't as much of a problem for you, but in South Florida with the hurricanes, a lot of people have hurricane impact windows and doors. Those doors are pretty heavy, and from what I've seen, they're held in with screws that are used with an impact drill, and I don't like to use an impact drill to take screws in and out of structures because they can strip and then it causes more problems. So I do what I can not to take those off, especially if I'm solo. If I have somebody with me, I'll take off a steel door because they can help hold it up. It's obviously a little bit heavier in weight. Otherwise, I do my best not to. So your other option was to take off the fridge's doors to kind of make it a little smaller. But if you have to take a door off yourself, assuming it's not super heavy, the best thing I have found to work is either A, I wedge my toes underneath it and just kind of scrunch up my shoe to kind of help balance the weight, and I'll just kind of stick one foot out to the side and I'll hold the door and kind of sit there and go one by one. Or if you saw my Dollar Tree haul video, I was talking about door stoppers for a little bit. I know door stoppers, super exciting topic, but they come in handy for a lot of things. One of the things I found to be super helpful is putting doors back on. Why? Because not all doors are the same height off the ground. The great thing about a door stopper is it goes like this. So I'll get 2 to 3 door stoppers and I'll kind of plant them at the end of the door, the middle of the door, and by the hinges, and I'll just set it up and just wedge it in to where the door is at the height it needs to be, and then all I'm doing is just holding it from leaning back and forth, and then I can put my screws in. And I don't know how you guys put your doors in, but I personally put the middle screw on the middle plate, and then the top, and then the bottom, and then you don't have to let go, like you can let go. I personally don't really like doing the pins option. I know it's a lot easier and it's better for the door, but I'm not super great at it, I guess. I don't know. So I just do the hinges. I do always ask the customers first if they're okay with me taking the door frame off. I will put it back on, but I've never had any issues yet. Knock on wood. So that is a really cool thing to do with the door stoppers. I have had it help me in plenty of situations. So that's that. So obviously this is a 20-ish minute video for removing a refrigerator. It's a little bit of a lengthy one, but it's because I wanted to throw in those extra tips. It's not so much just, oh, this is how you move it. There is so many ways you can move everything. There is no just one way to move something. So I'm just giving you guys options, the things I've learned from being a mover, things I've learned being solo. The great thing about being solo is you start to learn, oh shit, I could do that. That's a lot easier. And now you get to use that in the future. You can tell other people about it. You find stuff out. You naturally will be creative when you're in situations where you need to be. And you'll be surprised how many interesting ways you find things to get done. And you'll start picking up on these own little life hacks that you'll end up getting. So hopefully that video helped you guys out. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.